Welcome to the Talking Reliability podcast, where the future of maintenance meets the power of sound. Hosted by Chris Hallam from UE Systems, we're diving deep into the world of predictive maintenance, asset reliability, and cutting-edge ultrasound technology. Whether you're on the plant floor or leading reliability strategies, pull up a chair, or better yet, grab your hard hat, because we're bringing you real talk, real stories, and real insights from the experts who keep industries running. Let's crank up the volume on reliability.
Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Talking Reliability. Still out in Florida. We've had to come inside though, because even though the weather out there now looks good, 5 minutes ago, it was a rainstorm. We got soaked, so we had to come inside. So yeah, we're now in a nicer, drier, warmer place, a little bit of AC as well. So today we are going to be talking about UE systems and also exploring the ultrasound technology from UE systems. And today joining me is a good friend of mine, Joe Edelen. Thanks for joining us, Joe.
It's Thanks
good
for
to have
having
you
me
on
out.
board. And me and Joe go back for 10 years or so now when we first joined UE. We had a few good times together when we first came over here. Great introduction to the team of UE Systems in North America for me, and it's been fantastic time ever since. So, Joe, if you'd like to give a little bit of an introduction, first of all, to the audience, just to, who you are, Joe, and what you do within UE.
Yeah. I've been around. My name's Joe, obviously, Edelen with UE Systems. Been here for going on 10 years now. The strategic account development specialist. So kind of help out where I can with everything, kind of helping companies stand up their ultrasound programs and get things underway.
Yeah, that's great, Joe. That's absolutely brilliant. So, I mean, it's good to have you on board. And what we're going to do, first of all, is talk a little bit about who UE Systems are, because there's probably some of you tuning in, listening to this, wondering who the hell are UE Systems. So my job is to tell you who the hell is UE Systems. So, yes, UE Systems, one of the global leaders in ultrasound technology. But UE Systems is not just a technology manufacturer. We are a key partner with industry, helping industry to further advance their reliability programs and energy savings programs, working tightly to help them get the most from the technology. And that's where the likes of myself come in, and Joe as well in his experience. Joe, you go out doing lots of training with the customers, giving them that key insights into the technology, isn't it? That's the sort of thing you do, don't you, Joe?
100%, yes. As we try to help expand and let people really unleash the power of their programs, kind of give them those, since we do this, we live and breathe this all the time. So we can really give, pointers of where to start, how to get started, how to celebrate wins, what wins need to be celebrated, and, just getting you from A to Z.
No, absolutely, Joe. I think, to me, Joe, you epitomize UE Systems, because the energy within the team at UE across the globe is one of energy and enthusiasm, helping people understand the benefits of this technology. So, that is UE Systems. We have such a multifaceted approach to reliability, utilizing ultrasound, and also educating people on the best ways forwards and how it can be used in synergy with other predictive maintenance technologies. Those of you that are listening in today, you may not actually know what ultrasound can actually do. And it might be the first time that you're tuning in, listening in, understanding, what is ultrasound. So, it's a technology that's really used in many different applications. It's not a one-trick pony. We have many applications. I mean, Joe, for the audience, what sort of applications are we talking about?
Yeah. So, just let people know, getting started out, we got the easiest thing a lot of people get familiar with is the leak detection. As we call it, the low-hanging fruit, walking around finding those air leaks or gas leaks that you have no idea are there. And I think that's probably one of the beauties of ultrasound is it allows us to not only hear things that we can't hear, but it kind of brings a lot of issues to the forefront that might have been out of sight, out of mind at the facility. Then from there, people will typically expand into our mechanical inspections, which will allow us to do our motors. We can do pumps. We can check for cavitation, water hammer, valve inspection. The list goes on. And from there, we, of course, will be able to go into electrical inspection. So there's a lot that you can actually unleash at your facility with just the ultrasound alone. And, people usually aren't aware of all the different applications that they can bring into their facility with just ultrasound.
That's it, Joe. Yeah, absolutely. I think, a lot of people out there that know a bit about ultrasound, normally they see it as a leak detection tool.
Yes.
They don't really realize what it can be used for. I bet, how many times have you come across a customer where you've talked to them about, hey, have you thought about using it for lubrication, for pumps, for motors?
Right.
They've not really known about it.
No, exactly. I mean, about $1 for every time, right? And that's the thing. People, they have no idea, and that's kind of the one thing I want to do is kind of let people understand, all the opportunities that you have with ultrasound. Just like you said, lubrication. I mean, that's a big one there. Pairing ultrasound with lubrication, that can change a whole program alone right there for you.
No,
Not to mention the money savings.
Absolutely, Joe. I mean, where would you say, with ultrasound, where would people start if they were thinking about using ultrasound?
Well, you could start anywhere. You can decide if you want to dip your toe in or, just cannonball directly in. And honestly, it depends on what you're looking for savings wise. What do you want to get achieved? A lot of people will, of course, typically, like I said, start with leak detection. You go around, start identifying the leaks, whether it's a air leak, gas leak. People always forget vacuum leaks. Vacuum leaks affect the process. So not only that, we can identify vacuum leaks, and starting with these leaks around a facility are not only helping the process, but you can quantify that, and we can put a dollar amount on that for people. So not only are you able to identify the leak, but now what do? I fixed it, or what does this leak mean to me? And so we can take, what you pay per kilowatt hour and the decibel that we'd actually obtain from the actual leak, the decibel value, and we can give you an annual dollar amount for that leak. So now you can actually quantify what this leak's costing to your company year over year on those annual savings, and actually start to affect the bottom line of your company.
No, absolutely, Joe. And that's the the most popular, most common way, isn't it? Of
yes.
Anybody that's looking at implementing an ultrasound technology into their plant, the first way to get that bang for their buck is that leak detection. Get out there, identify the leaks. But one thing I will say, the amount of times that I've spoke to people that have said, "Hey, I've done a leak survey. I've found $200,000 worth of losses this year. We've made great savings." And I've gone, "Great. Have you fixed them?"
Exactly.
No.
Got to fix them.
Got to fix your leaks. Just scanning with an ultra probe isn't going to save you money. You do have to do some work afterwards. Okay? So bear that in mind. You haven't saved anything until you've repaired them. So,
True.
it's a thing that happens a lot. It does happen a lot. But it's okay. We educate, we move them forward. So, Joe, I mean, we're talking about all of these applications and the versatility behind the technology, but how does it actually work? For those of the people that are tuning in that maybe haven't used ultrasound, how does the ultra probes, how does ultrasound actually work? What are we picking up here with this?
So to give you the 40,000 foot view without taking everyone through a full blown level 1 class virtually here is what the ultrasound. If you think about it like this, we're going to do, of course, airborne and structure-borne testing, and we are going to allow the user, in some cases, to hear what you can't hear. And we're going to actually take a sound, heterodyne that, and give you something audible that we can actually process and hear with our own ears. So like I said, typically something that you had no idea was there, out of sight, out of mind. We put the headphones on. It's like you're in a whole new world, and things that like, oh, I didn't know that bearing made that friction or rotating noise, or what do we call it? Bacon fry, grease pops. It's whole new world's unlocked. And like I said, just making contact on that motor, listening to the actual bearings rotating. And to kind of dig a little bit deeper, we call it a little bit, frequency tuning, get into that different application we talked about earlier, to actually kind of allow us to hear what's happening. Now, of course, from there, we'll be able to, we talked about expanding and quantifying with the decibel value and things like that. That really kind of unlocks what you can do. And we can go on and on as far as like I said, getting technical on that. But we're trying to just keep it simple, because that's the thing that I want to get across to people as well, is just the technology is easy. And sometimes people, when they see a new technology, they typically want to shy away because they're not familiar and not comfortable. And at the end of the day, the Ultra Probe does all the work and heavy lifting for you. And so all the magic happens behind the scenes, and we're unleashing that power for you, so that when you go and you make contact, or you're walking through the facility trying to identify these leaks, like I said, it's all the heavy lift is happening for you, and you're just holding the probe, going around and actually finding out things that you had no idea were really happening at your plant all day long, creating these problems.
Absolutely, Joe. Absolutely. And it is, somebody might look at an ultra probe and think about all these applications and be almost overwhelmed with the fact that there's so much they maybe need to learn and understand. But normally what I find, and what I've done on demonstrations before and trainings, is the simple question is, well, how does it sound?
Yep.
Because that's a big part of this, is about how does it sound? And how many times have you put an ultra probe in an untrained hand, they've put it on a bearing and they've said, oh, that doesn't sound
good. It doesn't sound exactly. The eye, everyone's like, oh.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, is that supposed to be like that?
Exactly. We do a little bit of training about it, what it should sound, what a good bearing sounds like, what a bad bearing sounds like. But even before we've got to that point, somebody will go on there and go, oh, that doesn't sound good.
Yep.
Chances are it's not very good.
It's not exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. So there is simplicity behind it. And I mean, taking things step by step, isn't it, as well, Joe, I think, with this sort of thing.
100%.
I don't think there's one customer out there that I've experienced where they've decided that they want to attack all applications at once. It's taking it step by step, isn't it, Joe?
Yep.
I mean, how would you lead a customer through their journey on this sort of thing?
Well, I guess the biggest thing for us is first we want to understand kind of, what they want to get accomplished. What goals does the customer have in mind? And what problems you have? I mean, once you understand what your problem is, because we have all kinds of solutions. And like you said, it's how far do you want to go along? Do you want to just put the toe in the water? Do you want to attack this, attack that? But you have to keep in mind, you have to start somewhere, and you usually got to start small. Like everyone wants to, I can do this in my site. And then you kind of get overwhelmed. You take it one step at a time. You start celebrating the wins, and then you build and expand. And from there, you start with, hey, we're not doing anything in our facility right now. Tomorrow you start tackling air leaks. Then you're doing mechanical. Now you're doing ultrasound assisted lubrication. Next thing you know, you've got wireless sensors throughout the building coming back, giving you data, automating everything for you through the process. But it's just you gradually grow and expand on what you're doing. And then before you know it, you've got a world-class maintenance organization.
Absolutely, Joe. I mean, that is one way to sum it up in a nutshell. That is one way to sum it up in a nutshell. And that's something we haven't touched on yet as well, is that, a lot of people will understand UE systems and associate UE systems with the handheld technology.
Yes.
But what some people may not realize is that there's a whole level of Industry 4.0 within UE systems that have the fixed sensing technology, have the autonomous remote lubrication technology. I remember back in the days when I first started with UE, I was there with an ultra probe listening to bearings, looking over there at a single point lubricator and thinking, man, if I could get the decibel value to link with that single point lubricator, that would be amazing. Autonomous condition-based lubrication. And where we are today,
look at us now.
Look what we are now. And that's another episode for another time.
Stay tuned for that
Stay tuned for that one. Okay. But there's a lot of things to it. And that's what we bring to the table, I believe, isn't it, Joe? It's a partnership with a customer. It's education.
Yes.
A customer may get in touch and say, I want an ultra probe. My first question would be, why? Why do you want that ultra probe? And they'll explain why normally. And I'll be like, well, no, you don't need that ultra probe. You need something else.
Exactly.
So, we're not afraid to tell the customer no. But we'll tell them no nicely and reason why behind that, but also give some other options to consider. And that's the thing that I like about UE systems. We're not afraid to be able to be honest and straight with the customer.
No.
How many times have you had those sort of scenarios, Joe, where someone said they want something and you've said, no, I'm not too sure.
Exactly. And like I said, we do this all the time. And so we see that, and so you think you know what you want until you get there and you're like, okay, well, maybe, that's maybe not the best path for you. And, we need to go down this route here and stand these certain programs up and build upon that and get you to where you need that way. Or this just may be a better option for you based on, what the customers told us that their needs are and the solutions that we have for that. So it's all, like I said, just kind of understanding their needs and then being able to fully expand on there to give them what they want.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, the hardware is just one thing. You as a user, you may invest in some hardware, but I think Joe will agree. I think you'll agree with me here. But training on this technology is still very important. Even though it's simplistic, it's still very important. And that's something that UE systems provide, the bespoke trainings customized to the different industries, because everybody's different.
Yes.
Everyone has different needs, don't they, Joe? And there's different levels of training as well. I mean, Joe, maybe you could, elaborate on the sort of training paths for, a typical customer, maybe.
So that's the good thing too. And like I said, there is no cookie cutter, one size fits all with us. And I think that's one thing that customers will understand is that every industry is different. Every customer has maybe a different end result or a different goal that they want to achieve. And so we offer things even as simple as just, your typical category 1, category 2, or some people might see it level 1, level 2 certifications. We will have then, of course, in-house implementation programs where we can come out and typically we'll see success with a 3-day implementation. And that will allow us to come out, really assist the customer. And it's almost more of a guided, hey, we're going to help you stand the program up. We're going to help with the routes, helping create that, a lot of customers seeing success with having a naming convention, helping standardize, for routes. And that way it creates a standardization through the whole company. So once you can start to standardize things, it makes the process easier for everyone to embrace and to really get bought into or buy in with, because this motor here is the same thing at this site and so forth. It's all called the same thing. And so once you simplify that, everything else kind of goes into place very easy. The other portion of that program or training would be the routes we talked about there, the routes, getting your sensors in, things like that. There's so many different levels that we have that it's, like I said, not a just one size fits all. And even from there, we have some like 2-day options for, training, or we have in-house level 1. So it just really depends on where you want to get to and how you want to get there. And once again, I know I keep saying that, but we have solutions for every outlook, every industry.
No, absolutely, Joe. And I think, Joe's comments there just epitomize UE Systems and the fact that every customer is a partner, and there's a path from that what I would call the unconscious, incapable people that don't have a clue what they're doing when they first start, but we get them to that point where they're unconsciously competent in this sort of thing and they're moving their way through, and we're holding those hands for as long as needed. Sometimes we have some customers that are sending us sound files all the time saying, hey, what do you think of this, what do you think of that? And they know the answer, but you just have to prize it out of them. And eventually they stop calling you. And you're like, hey, what's going on? Oh, I'm okay now. I know what I'm doing. I'm like, oh, great. I feel a little bit let down now, but my job's done.
And I think people got to realize too, like we're all new in something. There's always that first for something for everything. So we were all new at doing it. So it's always that maybe that uncomfortable moment because it's new and you don't feel that you're that skilled. But it's like anything. It's like riding a bike. Once you start doing it, you're like, oh, that was actually a lot easier than what I thought it was. And then from there, your gears are turning of all the different opportunities and possibilities that you can start expanding upon at your site with. And what else can I do? Can I do this? Can I do that? And that's where you really like to see that kind of growth and expansion once you really start unlocking the power of the technology.
Absolutely, Joe. And I think there's nothing better as well when we get so far down the line with a customer and they start sharing with us their successes.
Oh, yeah.
They say, hey, look what we found. Look what we avoided. Look at this. Look at that. And that's the one thing that we do this job for is that that's job satisfaction, is knowing that you get those customers that say to us, hey, look what we found.
Yes.
And without the support and training that we've given them in the past, they would never have found those things.
No.
So you feel like you're contributing back something there. You can look at some of your products on your shelves and go, hey, yeah, I know the guys that had responsibility in keeping those things coming out off the line and stuff like that. It's really quite interesting. But, we could go on for a long time on this sort of thing.
Easily.
I mean, you look at the energy here, it's kind of is ready to burst.
We're trying to contain all the excitement.
If this was a bottle of champagne right now, it'd have popped a long time ago, So, Joe, I want to thank you for joining me today. It's been an absolutely pleasure having you on board. And, for those of you tuning in, look up Joe on LinkedIn, look up UE Systems as well, connect with everyone. We're always there to help. And again, save the date of 2nd of October this year, Talking Reliability Live at the Engine Rooms in Warrington near Manchester in the UK. Sign up today. Spaces are limited. And with that all said, Joe, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you all for listening, and stay tuned, and we'll speak to you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.